All right, guys, thank you very much. My name's Trevor, by the way. Thanks for coming and giving me your hours this afternoon. So it's the weekend, that's premium time, so I appreciate it. If anybody can't hear me, I do have a microphone. I'd rather not use it, but if you guys cannot hear me, there's no point in you being here, so I will use it, gladly, gladly, gladly. So just raise your hand and let me know. So as far as this goes, this presentation today, my goal is to educate you as much as possible on how your body reacts to food and what food does to your body, and basically just the truth is what we're shooting for, right? The truth. I'm not pushing an agenda. If you want to be a vegetarian, if you want to do the keto diet, if you want to do any of this stuff, I've got no dog in this fight. I don't care. I want you to be happy, and I want you to have the tools that you can be successful, whatever that may be, all right? So I really am not pushing anything. I just want you to know and be educated so you can make the best decision possible. That being said, I am not a nutritionist. I am not a doctor. I've been studying my ass off for this for the past while so that hopefully I can help you, but I'm not an expert either. I am so not an expert. So there are probably going to be some things that you guys can actually educate me on. But I want it to be as interactive as possible. So if you guys have a question, raise a hand or interject and we'll roll with it, all right? Any questions before we get rolling? Okay, let's rock with this. Okay, so our goals for the day. Nutrition, it affects more than just the mirror. I know that's probably why a lot of you guys are here, and that's the main thing we look at nutrition for, is the mirror and looking good. I want to look good at the lake. I want to look good at the pool. I want to look good wherever it may be. I get it, but it is more than that, okay? Performance in here, and I still don't care about that. Now we're going to start talking about health as far as long-term health. Trevor, I'm young. It might be affecting you in ways that you're not even aware of. It's something down to as simple as the quality of sleep that you get, which is actually going to affect everything else, and we're going to dive into that. Not going to deep dive, like I said, into anything, but it really does affect more than everything, and that's going to be my goal, to actually get you guys to make some changes, is to teach you on that. All right? Long term. We're in this for the long term. That's my goal, is to educate you guys for the rest of your lives. All right? Definitely. 60-day challenges, 30-day challenges, 3-month challenges, whatever it may be. Those are great, right? But the reason you're hooked on it is because it sounds sweet and easy. Or I can do it if I only have to do this for a little while, and then I can go back to donuts and pizza all the time, right? You can drive to Dallas in 3 hours if you want to as well, but the chances of you getting there are slim to none, right? So the faster, the quicker changes we make, the bigger changes we make, the less success most likely we're going to have. I'm not in it for a short burst. I'm in it for the rest of your life, okay? It's not going to be easy. Quality nutrition is not going to be easy. So this is what you guys really aren't going to like, is I'm going to try to get you to carve out some more time in your day for nutrition, because this is what we're all too busy. We're all too busy. And what we're going to come back to this again is we're all too busy to go to the DMV, but we freaking do it because you have to. And that's what I'm going to try to educate us, that we have to. And basically same thing tied in. Your health and wellness deserve more time and effort. They do, guys. Okay, the basics. And this basics here, some of this stuff, guys, you're going to be like, duh. But that's what so many of us want to do, is skip to level 3, level 4, level 5. We forget how important the basics are and how much they dictate everything. We are animals. Understand that. We're really freaking smart animals, but we are just animals. And we have the same needs that, like a wolf does, a moose does, whatever you want to say, that lives out in the woods, out in the forest, out in the wild. We have those same needs. We have the same energy requirements, and foods affect us the exact same way that they would affect them, okay? And that even comes down to then sleep and sun cycles, moon cycles, all that stuff. If you guys go back and look at I put 150 on here, but if we go back even 100 years ago, our nutrition is vastly different. If you didn't live in the city, it was even more different, and it's not necessarily a good thing. So as we've gotten smarter and we've learned more, I would say we have more options, and those options are fantastic, but ultimately our nutrition has just gotten steadily worse, and we're going to dive into all that. Okay, the basics. So some of you guys that I've already gone through the CAD course with, I've already kind of drawn this little thing for you, and this is referring to the circadian rhythm. So this is basically just a little diagram that shows as the sun goes up, all right, this red line spikes and it goes up. And that's referring to our cortisol levels. And that's just kind of a stress hormone. And that's a good thing. We need this hormone. We need this hormone to be able to function, okay? And to be able to work out, to be smart at your job, just to be able to get through. We need that going up. The blue line, right, that's way down here in the bottom during the daytime and then jacked up through the night, that's melatonin. Okay, as the sun comes up, cortisol goes up. As the sun goes down, melatonin goes up and the cortisol goes down. Okay, got it, I get it. But a lot of us rage against that machine all the time. And you can fight this all you want, guys, but we are prisoners to the way our bodies are forced to act. Okay, so still with the basics. Light, sun, moon, sleep cycles, they dictate your energy levels. So in the book, Lights Out, Sleep, Sugar, and Survival, it's a fantastic book. It's very much, it's very dramatic as far as how they put everything. But basically they come out and they say, modern electric light has really jacked us up as a species because we are hardwired to live on this planet and we are affected by the light, okay, by the sun, but they argue in to say just even light. We are affected by light. So as the sun comes up, back in the day, right, we go back to that 150 years ago, we got stuff done. When the sun went down, what do? We stopped doing things. There's one time of the year where the light stays up till around 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. Anybody, any ideas what time of year that is? Summer, right? Summer. What else is going on with summer? Everything's growing. So fruits are growing. There's more animals out. Food is a plentiful, okay? So what your body is basically seeing when we have lights on all day long and late into the night, summertime. Summertime. What season's right around the corner from summer? Winter. Winter, when nothing grows, animals are more scarce, the days are very short, and where people, would starve and die. So when our bodies are sensing that it's summertime in the light, and guys, this isn't me just being like, the universe, man, you just got to be in touch. This is science, I'm telling you. And like I said, I'm not going to deep dive on any of this stuff, but pick up the book if you don't believe me. And they back it up with more science than you want, more science than I wanted. But basically what our body's telling us is it's summertime, food's out there, crank up the appetite so we're hungry. Because right around the corner it's winter, when there's not going to be any food, and we're going to not be able to do anything. We're going to lie around a lot more. So we need to be fat so that we can survive. It's a survival mechanism. So when we live in this constant summer of electric light, you're craving carbohydrates more, and your body's trying to store that because it knows that it's getting ready to starve to death, and it doesn't want to do that. It's all survival, all right? So food and training can affect this as well. So looking back at that and we're going to look at that circadian rhythm, right? Anybody work out at 6:30 in the evening pretty consistently? Nighttime training. So that's cortisol's almost down, it's almost bedtime. And what do? Nighttime training. We jack that cortisol up through the roof, right? And then we go home and we have this massive meal as well. And then we turn on the lights and we watch a TV and that cortisol's through the roof. And then we got to go to bed. And what happens? We're not able to go to sleep till midnight. So maybe, right, it's affecting us a little bit more so. Guys, and I already mentioned this, we cannot change these fundamentals of how we live. We just cannot. You can rage against it, we can tweak it, but sooner or later it's always going to come back and get you. By the way, you guys standing, this is a long freaking presentation. You're more than welcome to stand, but these legs are going to get tired. All right, so next up, the basics. Let's look at stress. So a lot of people look at stress as work stressing me out, the kids are stressing me out, stuff like that. Stress is more than that. Stress is you going to watch Rampage at the movie theater. Stress is you going to watch the football game. Stress is you laying on the couch, to be honest. Anything you do is a stressor to your body that's slowly filling you up. Okay? And it can affect you in different ways. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but whatever we do throughout the day is definitely a stressor. This has a cumulative effect throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout your lifetime. It slowly builds up. We got to understand this. And this can affect your digestion, and it can affect the absorption of foods. So you can be eating really, really healthy, right? You can be eating all the salmon and veggies you want, but if you're super stressed out and you're running at the ragged edge, there's a decent chance you're not absorbing that. And then it's messing with hormones, it's messing with appetite, it's messing with your base metabolism, which burns calories, messes with all these things. So if you're in it for the health, we need to try to control our stress. If you're in it for the looks, we need to try to control our stress. It all basically comes back to the same thing. You might have different goals, but the way to get there is the same for all of us. Okay, so this little stress thermometer, those of you that have done the CAD, you've seen this as well. This little thermometer, right? So we talked about how it's cumulative and how we have these stressors throughout the day that go up there. You wake up in the morning, kids are running crazy. Stress, just a little bit higher. You got to get to work, you got a massive presentation on nutrition. Stress goes way higher, right? The workout pushes you up there as well. We're almost tapped out, and then what do? We eat a bunch of shitty food, and it overflows, okay? Or we eat quality food, but we eat it in a crappy way, and we're on the rush. And our body, we're making it harder for us to absorb it, making it harder for it to digest it. And the stress thermometer goes up. Now, this stress thermometer is different for all of us. And some of you are like, I don't stress out. Okay, I get it. You're not stressed out. But we're all affected by different things in different ways, and we all have different resiliencies, okay? And once that overflows, it's going to present itself in a host of negative factors that's going to be unique to you, as far as maybe your mental acuity goes down. Maybe you're not as sharp throughout the day. Maybe you get itchy skin. Maybe you get really mean. Maybe you get tired. Maybe you can't sleep. I don't know, but you guys get the drift as far as that goes, all right? Okay, sleep. So, younger people, you guys need more sleep. That's just how it is. As we get older, we need a little bit less. So if you're around my age in that 30 mark, plus or minus, we need around 7 to 9 hours. So we talked about the light, and it affects your hormones, craving, and metabolism. Guys, I'll give you a little bit. They did actually a test in that book. Is you're like, well, I don't have these bright lights. I don't have these bright lights. Anything turning the lights off is going to be a good thing as far as affecting you, but they did a test where they put a pinprick of light on the back of somebody's kneecap, and then they monitored the bacteria in their gut, which that's a whole nother thing. We're going to get into that, but they monitored the bacteria in the gut from just a little bit of light on the back of their knee, and the bacteria went crazy because it was light, and so it was jacking things up going on. So know that you are affected by this. Turn the lights off when you go home. When you're going to watch TV in the dark, something like that. But turn those lights off to get it going there, because it is going to affect your hormones, it's going to affect your metabolism, and it's going to affect craving and all that stuff. Sleep, all right? If you're the type of person that you get into bed, and as soon as that head hits the pillow, you're out, all right? You're done. Okay, good for you. There's a decent chance, guys, you guys are running on the ragged edge. You're in the red. Your body's already in shutdown zone, or shutdown mode. And that means you've been pushing for how many hours, already exhausted. And so that means that stress thermometer is already overflowing. Something's getting negatively affected. I don't know what that is for you, but if you're hit, bam, out. Okay, you might be saying, well, that's a great thing. That means I'm able to fall asleep really easily. I'm not saying you have to lay there for an hour, but it should take a little bit, because you're not on empty, completely on empty. In the same way, being unable to wake up in the morning. If it takes you like 4 hours to get going in the morning, right? 3 hours to get going. If people avoid you at the office because you're a horrible, horrible person in the AM, that's not a good thing. That means, again, your stress thermometer is way up there. You're not operating where you need to be, okay? So sleep. We need to make sure we get more sleep, and we need to encourage that sleep, and a host of factors, and your nutrition coaches, which we'll get into that later, are going to help you guys with that. So again, I brought back the circadian rhythm just so you guys could see, right? That little red line, that's that nighttime training, spikes that up. Guys, I get it, life happens, but there's that cortisone line, and it's coming down, it's saying time to shut down, the sun's going down, and what do? Whoop, we jack that thing up. Might make sleep a little bit harder. We just have to find out what our function is going to be in life, and we've got to work around that. But we can't be ignorant to it. We have to try to play by our body's rules, unfortunately. So I mentioned that as stress increases, absorption will go down, your appetite may go up. Okay? If you're not getting enough sleep, you might be eating more to make up for it. If you're super stressed out, all the time, you might be eating more. Your metabolism, you might not be eating more, but you might not be burning calories as well. You might not be able to lift as much weight here in the gym. Negative factors. I'm just broad scheming there. The 4 H's. This is just something that stuck with me in my research. Guys, within like 30 minutes of waking up, you should be hungry, happy, healthy, horny. That's a good way to look at it. You want those 4 H's. So when you wake up, hungry, happy, healthy, horny, that's what you're looking for. And if that's not you, we need to manipulate things a little bit to where we can get closer to that. All right, now for the fun stuff. The food to eat. Those are the basics. So understand this, guys. I'm getting ready to go over the foods we can eat and the foods we shouldn't eat. And it's just a quick list, and then we're going to a little bit more deep dive on things. This is from a pure health perspective, not a performance perspective. All right? Understand that. It is not performance-based. If you guys want to ask me something, feel free. I get it. Some of you guys are not going to like some of the stuff we're going to go over. All right. So remember, there's no bias here. I'm just trying to educate you. I don't care what you eat. I really don't. I just want you to be able to make the smart decisions. And we're going to keep it simple. Okay, so meat, right? Meat, fish, fowl, seafood, eggs, animal fats, and oils from wild-caught sources, grass-fed, pasture-raised animals being preferable, and we'll go into that much later. We like veggies. We like veggies a lot. I'm going to try not to say vegetables because apparently I say it weird and everybody laughs at me when I say it. But veggies. We like veggies of all kinds. Key word being variety. We like varieties of meats. We like varieties of vegetables. Veggies. We like variety of all that stuff. Okay, so those of you that have your grilled chicken, your broccoli, your rice every day, congrats on rocking a pretty quality little, diet. But if that's what you have every day, 7 days a week, let's mix it up a little bit, okay? So this is where we want to be a little more careful. These are still on the eat it list. Nuts and seeds, and then fruits. But we want to be careful. A little bit goes a long way. Nuts are very calorically dense. They are very high in fat. We need fat. We'll go into that later, but we want to be careful there. Notice I got avoid dried fruits and fruit juices. And we'll talk about that, but just trust me on that one. We just want to avoid those things. It's a lot of sugar. We're good with dairy, good with milk, we're good with cheeses, good with things like that, butters. Again, we'd like from grass-fed animals is preferable, and we're going to go into why we like that stuff, and that I'm not just giving you rhetoric as far as that goes. But the only caveat to this is we want to be careful that we don't have any intolerances towards dairy, whether it be lactose or casein. Okay, we want to be careful with that, and we're going to talk later. I know we're talking later about everything. We're going to talk later about how we might find out if we have these intolerances. And some of you are right now saying, I have no intolerances. I'm telling you, some of you do have them. You just don't know you have them. All right? All right, ready for the fun stuff? Do not eat. We can't eat cereal grains or grain-like substances. So there's the list. You even have rice on there. All right, we've put it, even though rice tends to be hypoallergenic, its nutrient density is very low, right? There's not a lot going on there except for calories. But we want to try to stay away from these things as much as we can. People are getting uncomfortable, I'm sure, right now, and they're like, why? I'll give you a reason why. We're going to come back to this, but I'll just give you a little precursor into the grains. None of you guys can go out and eat natural grains. None of you can eat grains as they grow in the field. You can eat fruit, you can eat veggies, but you cannot eat grains until we process them. Our bodies are not set up to be able to absorb that. We're going to get into that later, but just trust me on that. And if you want to prove me wrong, go out and try. Let me know how that worked out for you. All right. We're going to avoid all legumes, which is beans, and that's just a big stinking list. We'll come back to why. Sweeteners. Look at that one right in the middle. That's where it's getting some of you guys, isn't it? Stevia. Oh, you're like, but stevia. Stay away from the sweeteners. Stay away from the sugar. Stay away from the artificial sweeteners. Stay away from vegetable seed and nut oils, okay, especially to cook with, but we want to stay away from those things. We like coconut oil, we like animal fats, olive oil is a good one, avocado oil, I know some of you guys use that. Then why? Here, quick answer, just because some of you are like, this is bullcrap, this is stupid. Why should I avoid grains and legumes? They contain highly immunogenic or allergenic proteins, okay? Again, we're starting to get into those intolerances a little bit, but a lot of these things contain this because once again, we're not really supposed to eat this stuff. We're just really smart animals, so we figured out how we can. Okay, they have a very poor nutrient density. As far as grains go, most of the nutrient density that you're going to find in grains is actually fortified after the fact. They're not really naturally occurring in those grains. Very low nutrient density. We're going to skip number 3, and then we're going to go into commonly employed to create foods with high palatability and reward that lead to overconsumption. Okay? Makes them very easy to eat, right? We usually eat those items, and we eat them a lot. The bread that you get at any restaurant that you go to, the chips at the Mexican restaurant, all those kind of things. So let's say you're okay with being fat. You're like, yeah, Trevor, I'm all right with being fat, so why bother? So this is the metabolic syndrome, and old school term for this was Syndrome X. So basically what doctors started seeing more so in the 90s and the 2000s and presently coming into it is there's a host of issues that especially Americans and people that live in first world countries started to have more and more issues, and nobody could just point one little thing to it, and it's basically just because of the modern diet. All right, and I'm not going to read all this stuff, but this is a butt ton of stuff up here that's going wrong, and it's bad stuff. We're going to make this presentation available to you guys, and Brock's recording it, so you guys can watch it again if you want to, because why wouldn't you want to watch this again and again? But then you can come in here and read all this stuff, but it's a lot, and it's not good things, guys, not good things. Okay, so that's that part of it. Let's talk about factual reporting, okay? So in the studying that I did with this, a lot of it came from this guy that had 2 doctorates from Harvard in biochemistry and I forget what else. But he was like, he basically had the feeling that nutrition science was bunk. Like it was a joke compared to the core sciences of biology, chemistry, physics, and things like that. And the reason is because in the core sciences, if they post an article saying this does this, they have to back it up, and it has to look good, and it has to make sense, and it gets peer reviewed, and people go in and double check it. None of this stuff really happens with nutrition science for some reason. They get by with giving you a lot of observational epidemiology, which is basically saying, well, this kind of looks like something, this kind of looks like something, so let's run with it, okay? So we're gonna go over a few different studies to give you an idea of, and maybe even some that you've heard, just to give you an idea that some of the stuff that you currently believe, most likely some of you, is bunk, and it's not true. Real quick, as far as observational epidemiology, what this is, right? This is how we would look at it. In the summer, ice cream sales go up. You guys would agree with this, right? I would say a lot more ice cream sales in the summer. In the summer as well, there's more drowning deaths. You with me there? So, it's reasonable to believe that ice cream leads to drowning deaths. So if you eat more ice cream, there's a better chance that you're gonna drown. You guys are all like, that's stupid. That makes absolutely no sense. And I agree with you. But that is observational epidemiology. It's a good thing, so then I can test. Let's give all these kids ice cream. Did they drown? No, they didn't drown at all. So yeah, that doesn't work out. It gives you a starting point, but this is what we get a lot of, and people make broad decisions with this. And you guys have changed the way you eat because of some of this stuff. So here's a study basically that says the association between infrequent shaving causes cardiovascular disease and mortality. Infrequent shaving, okay? So, Brad, I'm sorry, you've had a beard for a while. There's a decent chance you're gonna have heart disease and die. I think we all know that that's kind of bunk, but they're even saying this could be a hormonal thing going on. What is it most likely? If you stop and think about it, most likely somebody that has to shave every day and actually takes care of their appearance, they probably have a job and they're probably taking care of other aspects of their life if they're taking time to shave. Duh, right? It makes sense. Let's look at another stupid one. All right, poor oral hygiene is associated with higher levels of cardiovascular disease and low-grade inflammation. All right, so how often you brush your teeth controls, again, heart disease and inflammation in your body. Now, you might be going, well, it's kind of inside your body, so maybe that's the brushing. No, I get it, but no, that has nothing to do with it. Most likely, if you brush your teeth every day, you're probably doing a lot of other things for yourself, right? There's not too many people that are consistently shopping at Whole Foods and working out every day who haven't brushed their teeth for the past month, right? Nobody in here right now has just got green nastiness going on, coming out their mouth. So Right, it's bunk. It's bunk science. Now those are really obvious ones. So let's go into one that's not as obvious, and I bet you guys, some of you guys have heard of this and you've acted off of it. So this was a study, right, that they looked at, and by the way, the guy that did this study, he was a vegetarian. So it's always important to know who's coming with what and who's paying for what. So basically this guy, he said, let's look at animal protein. Animal protein causes an increase in total cholesterol. And he's giving you like the percentages and the probabilities and all that. You guys don't have to worry about that. I'm not lying to you. So that's basically what the study says. And he says plant protein causes less total cholesterol. Then he goes one step further and says total cholesterol, the higher it is, you have a higher chance of colorectal cancer. Ergo, plant protein, higher levels of or animal protein, probably going to cause higher levels of colorectal cancer. Yeah, that actually makes sense. That's observational epidemiology. He looked at one, right? He looked at the ice cream, and then he looked at the swimming. So what happens though if we take his little bridge out and we look at the animal protein and we test that directly into causing colorectal cancer, and we take out the fact that it just causes an increase in cholesterol? There's actually a negative probability. The more animal protein you eat, you have a negative probability of getting that colorectal cancer. Do you see? And studies show that you may have an increased risk of getting colorectal cancer with the more red meat that you eat. Boom, and you're like, I gotta stop eating red meat. But that's this bunk science that we're seeing again and again. And on a side note, you have a higher probability from plant protein going into colorectal cancer. Now, it's a very low, don't think plant protein, that's not what I'm saying. It's a statistically not significant, okay? But it is there more than the animal protein, but that's not what gets reported. That's not what gets reported unless that's what somebody wants to report. But normally these things all have an agenda. So you're like, all right, colorectal cancer, but there's a lot of cancer. I gotcha. So all these cancers, look at that, lymphoma, colon cancer, cervix cancer, liver cancer, brain cancer, leukemia, all this stuff, none of these correlations from animal protein are statistically significant, okay, for cancer. So if you've been not eating much meat and protein because you didn't want to get cancer, you don't worry about it anymore, right? As Drinking Obama says, we good. And on a lighter but a much darker note, one of these, I don't know if you guys have read all these yet or if you can, that one says penis cancer. And I didn't even know you could get penis cancer, but that's horrible. And yikes, like, if you get penis, that's the universe saying, I don't even care about you anymore. So I was like, whoa, that's a bad deal. I apologize for any of you that have penis cancer. And I just made a joke about it. I didn't know you get it. All right, red meat. Colorectal cancer. So this says, I'll just read it real quick. The collinearity between red meat intake and other dietary factors, such as Western lifestyle, high intake of refined sugars, alcohol, low intakes of fruits, vegetables, fiber, and behavioral factors such as low physical activity, high smoking prevalence, high body mass index. These factors limit the ability to analytically isolate the independent effects of red meat consumption on causing cancer. There's too much stuff going on for you to say red meat is what's doing this. There's too much stuff to test it, or to at least make that from that test right there. Real quick, this just says pretty much everything you eat is associated with cancer if you read the right study, so don't worry about it. All right, one more stupid one. This one just says a vegetable-rich protein. Basically, the vegetables cause Chinese people to be fat, a high vegetable diet. That makes no sense. Vegetables are causing people to be fat. That's just silly. There's going to be other factors going in there. Any questions on factual reporting?
Let's go from 1 to 10. How horny should you be when you wake up?
I don't even know what he said.
That's a good question.
What was it?
On a scale from 1 to 10, how horny should you be when you wake up?
Okay, that's good. Let's see. Yeah. I don't even have a smart answer for that. Dang it. You got me, Brad. You got me. I might have an answer, but my parents are here, so. All right, next up, water. So what's more important, water or food? Well, if you've ever watched Naked and Afraid, we know what's more important. Water's more important. Those people basically don't eat for 21 days. They lose like 70 pounds. Awesome. But water, we have to have water. But how many of you guys stress about your water intake? Very few of you guys do. Maybe a couple of you guys do, but very few of you. Kind of like, I'm really thirsty. Drink some. This is all water. We don't worry about water, and it does affect everything in our bodies, guys. A good goal, a ½ ounce per body weight, pound of body weight. If you weigh 100 pounds, drink 50 ounces of water. Okay? You're like, well, that's cool. I already did that right before I worked out. Not counting what you do as far as working out. So if you're doing Murph in August in here, in this gym, you're going to need to drink a lot more because we all know how hot it is at the end of summer. All right, hormonal lifestyle factors, they play a major role in your hydration levels. As far as how stressed you are, how you're living your life, that's going to affect things. Duh, I get it. Your pee does not tell you if you're hydrated. So you're like, I just peed and it was really clear, so I'm good, right? It means you just drank a bunch of water. You could actually be pretty chronically dehydrated and happen to have clear pee once a day. It's just a tool you can use, but don't use it as a tell-all. Chronic dehydration can lead to your body hoarding water. So if you're chronically dehydrated, your body's going to hoard this. And this is actually relevant for how your body deals with all major needed nutrients that you eat as well. If you're not getting much of it, your body is going to take it and take it to the most important places, mainly your brain and vital organs. And it's not going to let the other places have it, which is most likely what you want to use those nutrients and water for. Performance or being whatever it may be, okay? Your body's going to give it to what is absolutely most vital first and foremost, so stay hydrated. Okay, water with meals. Can you eat water with meals? Some of you, I'm sure, chug a lot of water while you're eating. Is it necessarily wrong to drink while you're having dinner or having lunch? Drink water. No, and yes. It kind of depends. So if you're drinking water because the food is really rough and you can't hardly swallow it, what very well may be going on is that you're not chewing your food well enough and you're using the water as a form of digestion and you're dumping a bunch of stuff on your gut that it has to work overtime, stress thermometer, go up, up, up to work to digest, and you might not be able to digest it as much just so you can swallow it down your throat. You chugged a bunch of water while you're eating. So a good rule of thumb is just don't drink water while you're eating. Make yourself chew it more. Or, you know, back in the day, you didn't have to kill and eat your animals by a stream, right? You didn't have to do that. So another good way to look at it is they say, you know, don't eat with your mouth or talk with your mouth full. You should be able to talk with your mouth full right before you swallow. So if you can actually talk to somebody without spraying them, then you've chewed that food pretty well. But just be aware how you chew your food. It affects not just manners, it affects how well you digest it. Okay, is coffee okay? So let's go back to how well we woke up in the morning. Is coffee okay? Yes, coffee's okay. Nothing wrong with coffee, depending on what we're putting in the coffee. But I digress. So let's go back to how well we woke up. Who wakes up poorly? Who needs their coffee? Anybody? Need it, right? Like, don't have your coffee? So if I told you, Nick, hey Nick, I want you to cut coffee for the next week and see, you know, how we feel. And he's like about ready to have a panic attack. He's like, well, I'm quitting the gym. So if that's how he feels, then we most likely have an issue because he's not recovered in the morning and he's using an outside stimulant to get himself to where he can focus or to where he can function. He's using an outside stimulant. It's basically like, right, you just got done running a marathon and then I say, go run another marathon. You're like, I can't. Well, here, snort this cocaine and you'll be great at it. And so you snort the cocaine and you go run the marathon. That was probably a pretty bad idea for your body. Just because you snorted something up your nose to where you could finally do it doesn't mean that you should have done it. And it's the same way. We want to be recovered. There's nothing wrong with coffee, but if you're using Spark or Monster energy drinks or coffee to get you going in the morning, you're aging yourself dramatically. So for those of you here solely for the aesthetics, you're aging yourself. You're putting your body through the ringer. Juice. It's water plus fruit, so that's good, right? It's sugar water, guys. That's all it is. It's just sugar water. Don't buy juice. Don't drink juice. Cut juice out of your life. It's like soda with 1 or 2 more nutrients, okay? So does anybody in here, now I won't put you on the spot. How about juicing? If you got like those Lane juicers and you're juicing, some of us might want to do those things. I've tried it before. And a big argument for that is people will say, I can get more veggies and fruits juicing than I ever could eat without doing that. So it's a good thing that I'm doing that. Yes and no, because you are not, if you've ever juiced, what do you have to do after you juice? You take that container out and you throw away a ton of crap. That's the stuff that you're not getting. You are not getting all the nutrients from juicing. You're only getting a portion of them, and you're most likely just getting the sugars that make it taste good. Again, we come back to if it's too good to be true, right? It probably is. Or if it seems like a shortcut, or if we're going to get to Dallas in 3 hours, or whatever it may be, it's probably not a good idea. This is the same thing. If you have a pill, or I got 5 pounds of vegetables and 3 bananas and 2 apples, and I got it all. I doubt it, guys, right? Something's missing there. We're probably not getting everything we need. So just eat it. Eat it, don't juice it. Making it through the night. So this was an alarming part of getting older for me that I did not like at all. I noticed as I got older and older, I stopped sleeping through the night more and more often because I had to get up and pee. And I was like, well, this sucks. And I just was like, I guess this is life now. This is just what I have to deal with. And I'm like, apparently I've got like some kind of, I don't know, stuff going on with my kidneys that or old people do that keep me from being able to sleep through the night anymore. I was like, this really sucks. So what it is it's not necessarily your body's giving up and your kidneys or whatever it may be as far as there's an actual issue. There could be an issue, but what it is we're getting older, our resiliency is going down. And more likely, what's waking you up in the middle of the night is a cortisol issue. And you don't have to pee, right? You're not waking up because you have to pee. You're peeing because you happen to wake up because of a cortisol issue. And once you're awake, your body says, hey, you know what, we could pee. So since you're awake now, why don't you go ahead and pee, and you need to pee. So that's kind of what's going on there. And I've tested this. I wake up and I'm like, oh my gosh, I gotta pee. And I won't let myself pee. And in the past, I'd like, you might as well get up and go pee because it's going to wake you up again and again and again and again and again and again until you do it. No. I've gone right back to sleep and I slept another 4 hours and I felt like I was about to burst. Here's the thing, guys, your body, and I slept fine. I slept absolutely fine. Your body does not want to wake up multiple times in the middle of the night. It needs a full night's sleep, and the more you wake up, the less it's recovering. It does not need that, and your body, as amazing as it is set up to be able to handle you drinking water all night long and not having to get up to pee. Your body gets flooded, your cells get flooded with water. That's why you might weigh a little bit more right when you wake up. You're oversaturated. It's also one of the reasons for those of you that train at 5:15 in the morning, or if you ever have, you notice you're weaker. It's because your body's still not in a state that you can lift as heavily because the melatonin's going on, the cortisol's still low, and your body's flooded with water without going into too much science as far as that. But there can be issues. I don't want to say that you don't have issues, but I'm saying more likely than not, it could be a cortisol issue that's waking you up. And then you're like, yeah, I'll pee. Okay, as far as booze isn't good. It's booze. There's no redeeming factors of vodka or whiskey outside of the obvious, so don't do that stuff. Or do it, whatever. I'm not going into it because duh. All right, macronutrients. Any questions so far, guys? Like I said, nobody's raising hands. It's because it's such a good presentation. You couldn't possibly need to ask a question, right?
Sonny, all right?
We're going to say no. It's on the do not eat list. So we're going to come back to that. We're going to go a little bit into honey as far as why it would be on the do not eat list. But moderation, that's a good way to look at things. Macronutrients. So for those of you not in the know, all food breaks into macronutrients, which breaks into protein, carbs, and fat. Everything and booze, but we're not going to do it with booze. But proteins, carbs, and fat. These are macronutrients. All right, and as far as you continuing on with the 540 nutritional program and meeting with your coach, this is where we're going to spend a lot of time is working with you on these 3 macronutrients. This number refers to the calories per gram of those macronutrients. So 4 calories per gram of protein, 4 per gram of carbs, 9 calories per gram of fat. Okay, so a little more calorically dense. A little bit goes a long way there. So now let's talk about these macros. Protein. It's your winning macronutrient. We love protein. It does good things. Eat more protein. Yay, protein. Go team protein. All right. Number one, macronutrient, it has the best thermic effect. So this is basically saying you're getting dividends. You're getting a return on your investment. So if you eat 100 calories of protein, it's going to take your body like, 15, 20 calories to break down that 100 calories. That's a win. Whereas it's not going to be that high for carbohydrates. Okay, so it's got a good thermic effect. It helps with repair. And it helps with repair in your body, and not just lifting, but all types of repair, hormonal repair, stress repair, everything. And it helps in be anabolic versus catabolic in all the right ways. So anabolic means we use an outside energy source to build up. This is good for lean body mass and weightlifting. Catabolic means we're using our inside our body source to fuel other parts of our body. This is good for fat loss, but if we're getting weight loss and it's mainly catabolic and not fat loss, but weight loss, that means we're pulling from muscles. So this is where we're getting into the starvation diet. So going back to the naked and afraid diet, right, where you just don't eat for 21 days, yes, they're losing fat, they're losing muscle mass as well. We don't want to lose muscle mass because that raises your metabolism. So protein helps with these things, anabolic, catabolic, it's a win. Lean body mass, we talked about that. Satiety helps keep you full throughout the day, helps keep you energized, helps keep cravings down, right? Eating beef jerky is going to fill you up more, give you more satiety throughout the day than a granola bar. I promise. Or Snickers, whatever. Fat release, we talked about that. And calorie-wise, protein's equal to carbs, so you may as well. So how much protein should you have? A good starting point, and this isn't news to a lot of you guys, is a gram per body weight. So you weigh 185, shoot for 185 grams of protein. That could be very high for some of you. So that's why I said starting point. We might not want to be that high. Your coach is going to work with you on those things. But of the few people I've already done a nutritional profile for, especially for my ladies, sorry, you guys are woefully low on your protein consumption. Very, very low on that protein consumption. And it's a winning macronutrient. We like it. Matter of fact, the few people that I've done it for, that's almost all I say is like, have we eaten our protein today? It's been a tough day, Trevor. So eat that protein. We like the protein. All right, aim for it at every meal. And we'll come back to this guy's leftovers. It's a great source of protein.
How are we feeling about protein drinks?
So, protein drinks. So he said, how do we feel about protein drinks? As far as after a workout and stuff like that. We are going to come back to that, but that's someplace that we're going to deal a little bit more so with your coach. But as far as when we're getting into supplements, the more we can eat real, natural food, the better, right? That's what we want. So it can be good, but if all you're eating is protein powder every day, not as good. But if you gag every time you touch meat protein in your tongue, then maybe protein powder would be okay. We've got to work for you as far as what works for you. Okay, so this was another study. This was done by Loren Cordain, or he used it and he got it really popular. Anybody know who Loren Cordain is? Yet. He wrote the paleo diet. Okay, so it's an older diet. Most of us have heard of the paleo diet, eat like a caveman. But basically he said, I'm going to test the acidity of foods, and then I'm going to test the calcium that you urinate out after you eat these acidic foods. And his theory was, if you're eating really acidic foods and you have a high calcium level in your urine when you're afterwards, right, that that acidity is eating off your bones and you're losing bone density. That was his theory. Makes sense, right? And a lot of people really ran with that study. Vegetarians really liked it because meat and protein is very highly acidic. What they don't mention to you as far as vegetarians go is grains are very highly acidic as well. But if we dig down a little bit deeper and we look at, is the calcium in our urine coming from bones? No, it's not. So this basically says a diet high in meat, protein, and all that stuff, right? It's not affecting bone reabsorption. It's not affecting that. Basically what's happening is you're getting calcium with the meat already. You're getting calcium with other things that you're eating. Your body doesn't need it, so it just gets rid of it. Your body just is like, yeah, I don't need the calcium, so let's just pee it out. Let's get rid of it. We don't need it. It's not coming from your bones at all. So for those of you that are like, ooh, it's really acidic to have that, animal protein. I'm not going to do that because it's bad for the bone. Nah, it's not. And actually, it's good for your bones. Animal protein is. Okay, this is just a quick little article that says its role, dietary protein, and its role in satiety, keeping you full, energetics, weight loss, and health. Good stuff. Protein, good stuff. This is basically an article and a study that looks into leucine, which is an amino acid. And it says when you're having a lot of leucine in your diet, it triggers a post-meal anabolic response that protects metabolic active tissues during weight loss and increases loss of body fat. That's that anabolic versus catabolic in all the good ways. It's protecting the muscles if you have this leucine in your body, this amino acid, and it's promoting loss of your gut. So where do we find leucine? Any guesses? Any guesses? All right, so you guys can't read this probably from way back there, but this is the leucine column. You can tell if you can't read these, you can see the numbers much bigger than it is down here. So we're going to start with the high. Egg white powder, egg white raw, whey protein, meats, soy protein, seafoods. And then we get into, it drops down by over 3 times down into hard-boiled egg, milk, beans, veggies, grains, and sad faces and depression. Okay? So meats are what we want to eat for that leucine, which causes muscle and fat loss. Good times there. Okay, fats. Any questions on protein? All right, fats. Why do we need them? They will not make you fat. Okay, this was, unfortunately, the 80s and the 90s, there was that major thing of low-fat, high-carb diet. This movement was literally the spawn for Snackwell's crackers by Nabisco. If you guys, anybody my age remember Snackwell crackers, I guarantee you do, the green boxes. I remember there were the cookie sandwiches, there was chocolate, there was vanilla, there was the devil's food. I love Snackwells. And they were low fat, so you'd eat the crap out of them. Fats don't make you fat, okay? They are a great source of energy. They're great for satiety. Some fats, essential fatty acids that our body can't make on our own, we have to consume them to be able to function properly. High satiety, proper function of brain and hormones. They greatly affect cell membranes and cell communications to each other as far as to your brain and what's going on in your body. It does good things. When we look at fats, we're breaking them into these 4 things. We're looking at saturated fats, monounsaturated fats, polyunsaturated fats, and trans fats. We'll go into a little of these, but like I said, we're not deep diving on anything. We're just trying to cover the surface on everything. What this is I just put this on there because we're going to come back to this. Leptin is a fat hormone that's affected by how much fat you eat. Leptin, basically when you have that, it goes up into your brain and says, hey, we're full, stop eating. Leptin's a good hormone to have working for you as far as that. And I just put that there because we're going to come back to that. Okay, great sources of fats. Avocado, olive oil, coconut oil, salmon, fish, olives, some meats, nuts, all good sources of fats. This is basically a little breakdown of looking at nuts as far as we've got our saturated fats, we've got our monounsaturated fats, our omega-3s, omega-6s. These are our polys that we were talking about. And then the calories as far as those go. Notice, right, it doesn't give you the serving size here, but this is a serving size, it doesn't tell you how many. Notice if you can see this, right, calories 163, 186, 204, 196. They're calorically dense, nuts are. A little bit goes a long way. So if you're eating this many nuts multiple times throughout the day, you're getting a lot of calories, guys. You're getting good fat. We need fat, but still at the end of the day, it does come down to how much are we putting in our body, regardless if it's a good source. So Snackwell's crackers, and why did we start eating these? A lot of it came from this study. This is called the 7-country study by Ansel Keys. And basically he looked at percentage of fat in the diet and then mortality rates, deaths. Okay? And he basically plotted this out by countries. And he said these countries, look at it, the more fat they have in their diet, the more people die. Snackwell's crackers, right? So lose fat out of your diet. Here's the thing, once other people got a hold of this and they looked at his information, we found out what was going on. He gave you 7 countries. He had 25 countries that he could use. You guys seen the bunk science come back when there's an agenda to push? Here's all the countries, and although there is a bit of a trend, there's a lot more numbers in there. So let's look real quick at this. Like, we've got this country over here. They're way up high, but their deaths are very low. And what about this one? Their deaths are actually kind of high, mid-level, but their fat's fairly low compared to out there. What's going on with all this stuff? And so basically what other people found once they got a hold of their data is they said it's concluded that the suggested association between national death rates from heart disease and percentage of fat and a diet available for consumption cannot be at this present time accepted as valid. You can't look at your fat rate causing death, at least in a countrywide study like this. You can't do it. But yet this was sold, people bought it, books were written, and shopping carts were filled because of stuff like this. So to give you a heads up, why is there this trend? As this line gets higher and higher, that's going to get into more and more first world countries. So what we're seeing is, as fat intake comes up in America, so does consumption of highly palatable items like sugar and salt, right? Salted nuts versus no nuts. Ice cream, pizza, donuts, fats going up with sugar, with salt, which makes them very, very easy to overconsume. Okay, that's what we're seeing as far as that goes. When we're looking at other countries where they just eat a lot of coconuts and they don't saturate it with sugar, they're not dying. They're not dying because they don't overeat it. Taking the focus off saturated fat. All right, I'm going to talk real quick like the guy at the end of the radio commercial when he has to give you all this stuff, just so we can get through this. The totality of evidence now demonstrates that saturated fat consumption is no better or worse for the risk of cardiovascular heart disease than the average background diet. For stroke risk, the evidence actually suggests a potentially protective effect of saturated fat consumption in comparison to the average background diet, although they do give you this relationship requires further study. At least they gave you that at the end. But still, they're saying looks good as far as saturated fat goes. And saturated fat has been a whipping boy for a long time. You don't want saturated fat is what's basically been pushed on you. But there's not really evidence once we take out the fact that are you eating saturated fat or are you eating saturated fat with a butt ton of sugar? That's what's happening there. All right, fats. Saturated fats, they improve cardiovascular risk disease, stronger bones, improved liver health, healthy lungs, healthy brain, your immune system. It's good stuff. I'm not going to read all that. Monounsaturated fats are heart healthy. They improve insulin sensitivity. That's a good thing if you don't know, and we'll get into that later. Polyunsaturated fats, this is when we get into our omega-3s and our omega-6s. These are the fatty acids that we cannot make ourselves and we need to consume, these polys and these omega-3s and omega-6s. They're heart healthy as well. They can affect cholesterol for good and bad. Now, one thing I put on there, this little article, is we need to be careful of cooking with polyunsaturated fats, right? When we get into a high level of omega-6 and these polyunsaturated fats, these fats are normally not very stable under high temperatures. And when you cook with them, they oxidize, and that becomes very toxic for your gut. So what fats do we want to cook with? Cooking with oils, and it's basically what I just said there. Your best bet are animal fats, and coconut oil is your best bet to cook with. Most people in this room, I guarantee, cook with olive oil. Olive oil is a mixed bag. It can be all right, and now it's getting into the source and the quality of source and how it was made, how it was grown, all those things. It could be crappy olive oil. Could be good olive oil. I don't know. I don't know what you're buying. But I do know coconut oil is delicious. So avocado oil is not a bad one as well. And animal fat. I know like the Paynes, they like to cook with animal fat. Go for that.
When you say animal fat, you're talking like the old-fashioned lard?
Could be lard, or it could just be the meat that you're cooking with. You know, bacon grease, things like that. That's where it's coming out as far as that goes. Yeah. But bacon. Little bit goes a long way. Little bit goes a long way. Be careful, right? I'm not saying fats are eat bacon all day. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying eat a jar of coconut oil every day. No. Don't do that. But this is a list basically. This is linoleic acid. and you guys can't read this, but this shows this linoleic acid. This is the stuff that doesn't do well in high heat. This is a list of oils, and this shows, and if this is a high number, that's when it breaks down when you're cooking with. So some of you guys might remember a while ago there was a trend of grapeseed and cook with grapeseed. That's really great. Grapeseed's number, where are you at? 69.6 compared to coconut oil's 1.8. You don't want to cook with grapeseed. Don't cook with grapeseed. I never did. I bought grapeseed, but whatever. Some people trying to be healthy because they read it on Huffington Post and like, grapeseed is great. So anyway. Should you take fish oil? This is kind of we need these fatty acids that our body can't make. So a lot of people take fish oil, and that's not a bad thing. Should we take fish oil? Here's what I'm going to say. Some of you guys, we've heard that you need to balance out and find the right balance of omega-3s versus omega-6s. You need both of these, but we need to find a right balance of it. And for those of you doing the science and the math as far as all that goes, what I'm going to give you on top of that is it doesn't really matter the balance of omega-3s versus omega-6s. It matters in those omega-3s how much DHA is in there, which is a big, long word. So I'm going to tell you to go on Amazon and order Norwegian Gold Critical DHA. And that's the fish oil that you guys should take. Critical DHA. 2 pills will give you 1 gram a day of DHA, and it's all that your body needs. And then you don't even have to worry about the balance of omega-3s and omega-6s. The DHA is the good stuff. You want the DHA. Can I get a what for DHA? Go buy your DHA. Yeah, there you go. Trans fats, they're bad. Are they? Everybody says trans fats are bad. Well, it depends. Where are you getting the trans fats? Okay, are they naturally occurring or are they man-made? If it's man-made, it's bad. This is normally when they're made to give fats a longer shelf life so they can, set it Chick-fil-A a little bit longer so that they can, be cooked with and deep fried and things like that. But when it's a naturally occurring trans fat in animals, linoleic acid, conjugated linoleic acid, it actually is really good. Conjugated linoleic acid, trans fats in animals, reduces body fat mass in overweight and obese humans. Fat reduces body mass and fat. That's a good thing. So we'll come back to trans fats. Or actually, we're going to keep going on that. Again, conjugated linoleic acid, trans fats. Supplementation decreases adipose mass, which is blubber, right? It decreases that and it increases bone mass. So osteoporosis, win. Lack of blubber, good. Right? Win-win. That's your animal trans fats coming in meats. Carbs. Okay, carbs, this is your fun macro. They are a fantastic source of energy, right? Fantastic source of energy. Carbs are highly glycemic for the most part. And these are your common offenders: fruits, veggies, grains, pastas, rice, sugar, found in some combo items such as milk and beans. Very easy to overeat. Very easy to overeat carbs. And sugar, which is definitely a carb, is often used to make other foods more palatable, which we've kind of touched on that already. So we got to understand, not all carbs are bad, and your carb amount really depends on your function. What do you need to do throughout the day? What are your goals? That's when we're going to get into, do we need carbs? Do we need a lot of carbs? So if you have an office job and you don't really care about how well you perform in here, and we're looking at mental acuity, we might not need to prioritize a large amount of carbs in our diet. This is where you're going to work with your nutrition coach in here if you decide to sign up for the program. Okay? So we might not need as many carbohydrates as we're eating right now. So as far as these carbs, this is where we're going to get into, you guys aren't going to like me. Veggies should be a primary source of carbohydrates for all of us. A primary source. Before I started learning all this and doing the research, I normally only would have veggies, once to twice a week, and it would mainly depend on how often I went to Shogun, right? As far as if I ate any veggies. I've changed that up quite a bit. It needs to be a daily part of your life, and we're going to go in again and use that word variety. You need to be eating more veggies on a more steady basis, okay? A steadier basis. We need it. All right? A decent percentage of your total carbohydrate amount, depending on your function. Do what?
Potato is
Is a potato a vegetable?
I'm going to say no. Okay? I'm going to say yes and no. I'm going to say no. Green veggies. Hey, eat your potato and a butt ton of veggies, right? With it. It's like none of us want to do it when we were kids, but you make your kids all do it, so make yourself do it, right? Eat your stinking veggies. The more the better variety. Fruits and starches are a distant secondary source of carbs to the point of maybe even a non-source depending on your function, okay? Fruits and starches, that's when we're getting into potatoes. Fructose will not be used for fuel as efficiently as other carb sources. Fructose, fruit will not be used as efficient. We're gonna come back to that later. And sugar is not needed for most at all. We don't need sugar in our lives, most of us at all, outside of making a day great, right? But as far as nutrition, we don't need sugar. All right, so what about working out in the post-workout window? This is where we might change things a little bit as far as needing those carbohydrates, as far as our function, as far as recovery. The leaner and the more active the individual, that's when we're gonna get a bigger and bigger range of carbohydrates that we may or we may not need, depending on how lean we are and how active we are. For many, and we're gonna point this out, fruits are only needed in your life, in your post-workout window, and that's it, fruit. I've got a slide coming up that's going to ruin a lot of your all's days. I'm kind of looking forward to it, but anyway. Post-workout window. All right, the non-lean athlete. The non-lean athlete. So, got a little extra working with, but they're athletic, they're working out a lot. You may not need sugar or fruit afterwards. Again, that's you and your coach and your function. You may not need sugar or fruit. You definitely need protein after you work out in that post-workout window. And then 60 to 90 minutes later, we'll introduce some more carb sources in the form of veggies. Veggies, we're gonna eat our veggies 60 to 90 minutes later with more protein, meat protein, ideally. How about the lean non-athlete, the skinny guy that doesn't work out? You may be able to handle fructose, fruit, after a workout, right after the workout. You might be able to. Depends on the function, depends on you, depends on what your fitness coach says or your nutrition coach. You may not need a non-food supplementation, i.e. protein powder. You may be able to get by with maybe just having a little bit of fruit and maybe eating something, maybe right then and there. And then 60 to 90 minutes later, veggies and a protein-based meal. How about the lean athlete? Now we're getting to where it's probably okay for the lean active athlete to introduce sugar and protein and maybe the form of non-animal meat protein like powder in that post-workout window. Okay? And then 60 to 90 minutes later, meat and veggies. And then the non-lean non-athlete. Protein alone, don't need any sugar there, and 90 minutes later, veggies and protein. Gives you an idea we might be consuming in the name of recovery in our post-workout window when you don't really need it at this point in your life or your performance. Okay, so the upside, they are delicious, right? And they help performance reach higher levels. So because of carbohydrates and the smart apes that we are have figured out how to manipulate food, we're able to do far more as far as performance in the human body than we ever were able to before. The downside is a little goes a long way. Overconsumption is very easy, and our body doesn't really need regular carbohydrates. Grains are tough to digest, and sugar is the main contributor to the metabolic syndrome. So when you say our bodies don't really need carbohydrates, I've already talked about this with some of you guys, but again, real quick, go back 100 years ago, 150 years ago, you guys live in a cabin out in the middle of the woods, right? You don't have a farm, you don't have access to agriculture, you have your rifle and you live in a cabin in the middle of the woods, or a van down by the river, whatever. So when would you be able, what time of the year, what season would you guys be able to eat carbohydrates? Summer. That's the only time they naturally grow. That's the only time you can eat them. That is the only time our body, our caveman ancestors, our animal selves would have access to carbohydrates. That is it, guys, is in the summer. They don't grow in the winter. They don't grow in the fall. They don't grow in the spring. Maybe a little bit, but they don't. Right? Unless you just get lucky and you find some weird source that's not there. Our bodies were not designed to eat this stuff all day long as far as needing this. We're getting into function and performance. But if you go back far enough, the average human diet was 80 to 90% meat and fat. That's all they ate, because that's really all they had. So now let's go back into it. Summertime. We live in the constant summer. Screw you, Trevor. I want to eat my carbohydrates. What else have you got? All right, this is what I'll tell you, is that as far as carbohydrates go, they grow in the summer. What's the season right around? The main job of carbohydrates, if not for performance, is to get you fat so you can survive through the winter. That is the main job of carbs, okay? And especially fructose, but we're going to get into that in just a second. All right, any questions there?
I've got one, Trevor.
Yep.
So you hear a lot about needing a lot of fiber in your diet. Fiber's good for heart health. Carby foods tend to be your fibrous foods as well. Where does fiber come in here?
What should we have 60 to 90 minutes after every workout we do? Veggies. Veggies, veggies, veggies. That's where you're going to get all the fiber you need. Eat more broccoli, right? I mean, so we'll talk about, like, I make a big bowl of veggies like once or a couple times a week, and I try to eat this throughout the days 1 or 2 times. Just a bowl of vegetables, you know, and I just fill it up, put some protein on there. Like, it's so hard to eat. Like, it's so filling, right? Even though it's not going to be filling in the long run, right then it fills your gut up. Vegetables are very filling. It's just, they're not very palatable. They don't taste great without sugar and salt and a lot of butter or fat to put in there. But yeah, veggies. Okay, sugar. So let's demonize sugar a little bit. So this basically says that food reward, right? Food reward, not hunger, is the main driving force behind eating in the modern obese environment. Okay? Human beings are genetically programmed to find sugar, fat, salt in combinations of very, very, very desirable. Because it's going into this instinctual, I want to survive. It's summertime right now. Outside it's snowing this morning. It's summertime. Winter's around the corner. Your body wants to survive, so it wants to eat this crap. That's why it's so stinking good, right? So you survive. Because our bodies didn't know that supermarkets were going to exist that have everything all day long, forever and ever. Because we used to have to kill everything or make it. So a lot of us have already seen this study, right? That they took a bunch of rats and they said, here, have cocaine water. And then they said, now have sugar water. Now which one do you want? And the rats were like, I'm going to have that sugar water, man. That's what the rats said. And they're like, well, how about more cocaine in the water? And they're still like, yeah, I'm good at that sugar water. That's the sugar. It does more. It lights up the brain. It creates more of an addictive response in our brain. Sugar is very addicting. It's hard to break once we get it going into our body. That's just one of the many things that it does negatively to us. So let's look at sugar, just to let you guys know. This is almost like, duh, we already kind of know this. But this is macronutrient intake since the 70s. Protein's pretty much stayed the same. Fat's gone up a little bit, that's the blue line. And the carbohydrates have gone up dramatically. So we've had a 350 since the 70s into 2000. It's probably gone up more since then. We had a 350 increase in calories per day. Of that 350 calories per day, 65% of that is nothing but carbohydrates. We are eating more, right? 350 calories a day is going to be roughly equal a pound worth of more pound more calories that we're eating every 10 days, basically. You're eating a pound more worth of energy, unless you work it off somehow. So we're eating more. As far as sugar goes, right? Let's just look at the 70s, 70 million tons. And now it's up to 128 million tons. This was in 2000. What's it at now? It's a lot of sugar, guys. It's in everything, unfortunately. We'll talk about it. Kids, study of 1,400 eighth graders estimate that fructose consumption from added sugars ranges from 47 to 122 grams a day for kids. That's added sugar. So that's not the spaghetti that they eat as far as carbohydrates. It's the sugar that they put on top of the spaghetti. It's added sugar, 47 to 122 grams. Justin. I can't even slightly hear you.
Do you group artificial sweeteners in your sugar?
Yeah, we're going to come back to that a little bit, but as far as this study, no, we're not talking about artificial sweeteners. We're just talking about sugar that's in your ketchup, that's in your barbecue sauce, stuff like that. For Kids, baby kids, right? This study estimates that 11 to 12% of preschoolers are ingesting more than 25% of their total energy in the form of added sugar. 25% of their total energy in added sugar, not carbohydrate consumption, added sugar after the fact. This basically is a study that says sugar-sweetened beverages overconsumption causes inflammation. So it's not doing good things for us. So a few basics as far as carbs go into this. All carbohydrates break into these three things, okay? For the most part. Glucose, fructose, and sucrose. Glucose is your body's preferred energy source. For the most part, whatever carbohydrate you eat, it's going to go to the liver and your body's going to turn it into glucose so that it can be used all over your body, for the most part. Fructose, not as easily used by the body, commonly found in fruits and plants. It's a little bit sweeter than glucose, tastes better. Then we have sucrose, which is table sugar, which is the combination of glucose and fructose. This comes naturally from sugar cane and sugar beets. That's where we get that stuff, table sugar. Okay, so this basically real rough metabolism and body stuff 101. Consumption of any carb is turned to glucose in the body when that's put into your blood sugar, right? So when that blood sugar becomes too high, that's toxic to your body. Your body does not like it. So your body releases insulin into your blood to take that blood sugar and go put it in different places of the body where it's needed. Because it's just toxic being in your blood, so it gives it to the muscles, it gives it to cells, it gives it to the brain so that you can function. When the blood sugar gets too low, and you're not ingesting it, your body releases glucagon to go into where it's been stored in the past. This is another hormone. Take it from your fat cells and take it where it's needed. So glucagon's a win. Very often what we find is that, I believe in type 2 diabetes, it's not just the fact that we can't make insulin, it's also the fact that we don't have enough glucagon doing the work either. But that's newer cutting stuff as far as insulin resistance and diabetes. That is a very basic breakdown of insulin work, guys. Very, very breakdown. Okay, so this is kind of cool, I thought. Your body can store glucose and hold on to it for energy. Your liver can hold 400 calories of glucose or glycogen stores, right? As far as sugar that you can use. The rest of your body holds roughly 1,600 calories. So that's 2,000 calories of sugar, of energy your body can hold on to that it can use if you're going canoeing, if you're coming into the gym, if you're going to work, that it can use throughout that, right? 2,000 calories is not a ton. So what happens if you're eating a lot of it, a lot of sugar, a lot of carbs, and you've maxed out your glycogen stores? What happens to that? If liver and the cells are stocked with glycogen, then they are turned to fat and then will be stored as fat. That's just basically what happens to energy that you don't need anymore because you're not using what you've consumed. If the cells, organ, brain become unable to store or take on more energy, then they have become insulin resistant. This is bad. So theoretically, fat cells can take on energy forever, i.e. morbidly obese people, right? You can just continue to swell and grow and eat and eat and eat, theoretically. But sometimes the cells, for whatever reason, organs, muscles, just say, nah, we good. I don't want the sugar. Then they're no longer taking that blood sugar, or the sugar out of the blood, which remember is toxic to us. That's when we're becoming insulin resistant. If you're staying insulin resistant long enough, most likely, then your body's just going to stop making insulin and you are now a type 2 diabetic. And you're going to have to inject it from outside source. Insulin resistance can be manipulated by our diet. Type 2 diabetes somewhat can be manipulated by your diet. For some people, completely and totally, can be reversed by how much sugar and energy we're putting in our body. By the way, this is bad. If that happens, it's bad. You don't like that, okay? Whew. Okay, so let's do a couple of studies, right? This basically says inflammation and depression from insulin resistance. If you have insulin resistance in your body, it could be causing a lot of inflammation and depression. This says dampens the suppression of a hormone that signals hunger to the brain. So If you're getting insulin resistant, eating a lot of sugar, you could be hungry even though you're not hungry, but your brain's being told to eat more. I want to eat more. I want more pizza. This is leptin resistance. Remember I showed you that little thing about leptin? That hormone that says it's a fat hormone? This is the triglycerides, which isn't sugar, but it becomes sugar. Just trust me on this stuff. It eventually will go there. But insulin resistance, it can lead to this stuff, to where we're becoming leptin resistant, to where your brain just doesn't recognize that hormone that says, stop eating fatty, you've had enough. Your brain's like, what? I don't even know what you're saying right now. So that can go on when we have too much sugar. Insulin resistance in Alzheimer's. They're finding more and more studies that this is affected. More Alzheimer's from a detrimental role of a high carbohydrate diet. Okay? Now, we're ready to ruin some days. Okay, so what about fructose? So that's what we find in fruit, right? People like fruit, we eat fruit because it's healthy. I get it. I'm sorry. Our body's preferred energy source is glucose. Every part of your body can use glucose as an energy source. Not every part of your body can use fructose. So that means it's got to go to the liver first to get turned into glucose. All right? So if the body's already stocked with energy, similar to how it was with glucose, we've already talked about this, then fructose can become problematic. All right. Yes, all right. That's so much fun. Amy wasn't happy when I told her this. Up to 27% of fructose is immediately turned into fat by your body. Immediately. Fructose, fruit. Up to 27% of that energy, those calories, is immediately turned into fat. Okay? Immediately. Sorry. So those of you that are eating fruit on the reg and you're trying to lose weight, I'm not saying fruit is the devil. There's more nutrient than pie, right? Or just straight up sugar. But let's go back to what I've already said. When do fruits naturally grow? Summer. What season's right around the corner from summer? Winter. Our body is designed to take that fruit and get fat with it so that we don't starve and die in the winter. That's how we're designed to work. That's what fruit's there for, to help you get fat so you don't die. Because our body did not know that we were going to have Walmart forever, right? That's what's going on. This was depressing to me. I was like, really? Don't worry about the rat stuff. That's just whatever. So this is basically just another thing that says if you have that fructose and caloric excess, all fructose will initially be converted into triglycerides, which is just kind of like fatty cells, into the blood, but then it'll be converted to fat eventually. Yeah, we've already said it. I'm not going to spend time there. We got a lot more slides. So this is basically what I told you, is that every part of your body can use glucose. Not every part of your body can use fructose. This is just kind of funny one I noticed. You guys read that final word up there? Endocannabinoids. Does that sound familiar? Cannabinoids, cannabis, weed. Anybody know a guy that smoked weed one time and talked about getting the munchies? Yeah, that guy had major munchies, right? Fructose, right? Affects that, and it can give you the munchies as far as going with all that stuff. That's basically what that long-ass paragraph says. Okay, Justin, no problem. I'll stick to artificial sweeteners. I will drink Diet Coke and Monster and my stevia all day long. All day long I'll drink that. The unnatural sweetness of fake sugar, and it is much sweeter than table sugar, jacks your brain and your hormones up. They're like, what is this? And weird stuff starts to happen. Okay? Like the brain's like, are we hungry? Are we not hungry? Do we need to eat more? I don't even know what's going on. This tastes awesome, right? That's what's going on with artificial sweeteners. Okay? This was a study. They took these rats. I know it's not humans. They gave them the same amount of food, but one of them had a butt ton of aspartame in their water. The rats that had the aspartame gained weight. They could not give you a direct causation on that. That's observational epidemiology, guys. They could not give you a direct causation. But They had the same amount. They had some theories. We speculate that a decrease in the energy expenditure or increase in fluid retention might be involved. They weren't exactly for sure. They just did this study, and now they can go in and make further tests if they so desire. But same amount of calories. They were both eating same amount. It wasn't more. Just one had artificial sweetener, no calories. And those rats got fatter. But it tastes delicious. All right. Okay, so this is basically just a paper study that says one of the reasons behind the success of low carbohydrate diets is the elimination of sugar. It's not that carbs are bad, right? But the reason low carb diets have been so successful is because you pretty much can't eat sugar on a low carb diet, or if you do, you max out your carb intake very, very quickly. Another factor is the increased protein. If you're not going to eat carbohydrates, you're probably eating more meat, and meat does good things. That's what makes the low carb diets work so well. All right, so we've demonized sugar. Let's talk about grains. So humans are not able to easily digest grains. They are not. We are not made to eat that stuff that grows in the field. I've talked about that. I'll show it a little bit more so. At the cellular level, the gluten molecule can be very taxing to the immune system. We'll talk about that. And multiple illnesses and negative conditions can be observed with gluten sensitivities and not just intolerances. So guys, I was one of those guys that was like, oh, you got gluten, you gluten, whatever it is, eat your bread and shut up. That was kind of me. And then I started studying, I'm like, okay, actually, no. Science, there is science behind this crap, and there's definitely some truth to it, okay? Let's talk about it. Okay, so the transcellular and the paracellular pathway, this is like the most science I'm gonna give you, and I'm brazing over the top. So in the gut, the cells, right, we consume this food. Sometimes the nutrients and the energy can get into our blood cells directly. That just kind of goes through through the cells. That's the transcellular. The one we're going to look at is paracellular pathway, which is basically the cells open up and they come in through those. We call them tight junctions. Okay. I'm like probably. I don't know if Sarna's like, you are bushing the crap out of this right now. I don't know if he is or not, but I'm trying to keep this very easy. So there's the transcellular pathway, right? Just goes straight through the cell, just we're absorbed directly into the bloodstream. Can be a good thing. Then we have tight junctions. So tight junctions, I told you, you see these, right? That's the tight junctions as far as being able to go through that. That's your paracellular pathway. All right, the tight junctions between these cells are dynamic structures that are constantly being remodeled by external stimuli, such as the stuff that we eat and the bacteria that's in our gut. And I told you we have, well, I didn't tell you, I told you you have bacteria in our gut. Just FYI, you've got like more bacteria in your gut right now that's working for you for the most part than you have genes. I mean, you've got a ton. You got a lot going on there. And what we eat can shape that bacteria. But tight junctions, for the most part, we want them closed and they stay closed. So aside from that bacteria, there are currently 2 known factors that can force tight junctions open. Force them open, right? Force them open. Gluten-free or gluten-derived peptides and an excessive amount of bacteria in the small intestine. Gluten peptides, okay, we're getting down to the cells. So this is the gluten molecule broken down, and although this picture doesn't look that bad, basically what that is this gluten cell for your gut is glass shard wrapped chainsaws that just goes into the gut and is like, let's mess some crap up, right? That's basically what these things do. So they took some of these gluten cells and they covered them with basically just fungus, with death, right? The same stuff that consumes a dead animal, that just slowly it just biodegrades and comes to nothing. They put that stuff on there. It still took 14 hours to fully hydrolyze these amino-active peptides and gluten in perfect settings by the stuff that biodegrades stuff better than anything else, better than your gut can, right? Our gut cannot handle this stuff. We cannot digest it. We cannot all the way. All right? So, this basically says, unfortunately, last line, human proteopeptides cannot fully digest it. Just what I just said. We cannot digest it. It's just more science in an article that says what I'm saying. So you know I'm not just making this crap up. All right, so what do we get when these tight junctions get forced open? Right, we get leaky gut, we get autoimmune diseases, okay? And there can be a host of them. So what's going on is when these tight junctions open up, our bloodstream is wide open and stuff gets into it that we don't really want to get into it, that needs to go through other factors to be worked on, digested, and all that stuff. But now it's open and it's getting in there. Our body does not like that, and so it's going to attack that area. And it's going to do weird things. What type of weird things, Trevor? I'm glad you asked. Let me show you. These are known or suspected autoimmune diseases that also present with intestinal permeability. Intestinal permeability is what I'm telling you, the tight junctions have been opened up. So I am not saying grains cause these things. I'm not saying they cause it at all. What I'm saying is all of these diseases, and I'll read off a couple of them, present with intestinal permeability. They have the same thing that tends to happen with grains when you eat these things. And some of us are affected more by grains more than others, okay? Some of us are affected more than others. But allergies, asthma, autism, autoimmune and gastritis, hepatitis, celiac disease, Crohn's disease, chronic fatigue syndrome, depression, dermatitis, diabetes, gut migraine? I don't even know what that is. Juvenile arthritis, lupus, psoriasis, rosacea, arthritis again, schizophrenia, a lot of this stuff. So am I telling you grains is going to give you these things? It's not what I'm saying. It's not what I'm saying. It's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is grains tend to open up these tight junctions that people who have these disease also have wide open tight junctions. How easily your gut gets worked over by grains, that's unique to you. That's individualized, okay? You might be fairly resistant. You might almost not be affected by it at all. What I'm telling you though, is whether you're affected a lot or a little bit, it's not good. It's not like it's going down there massaging those tight junctions. It's working them over. And remember with the same thing with meaning to pee more, our resiliency gets less as we get older. So grains definitely aren't doing anything awesome for you. Let's just leave it at that. So real quick, this is gut permeability and celiac disease with gluten sensitivity. Oh, that's right. This is what this says. Oh, so what is a little sciencey? Celiac disease and gluten sensitivity. They're similar, but they're very different things. Basically, celiac disease is a adaptive immune response. So our body gets this and we're like, whoa, what is it? Huh, okay, well, we'll adapt to try to deal with this. Gluten sensitivity is an innate one. Your body's just immediately like, not good at all. It's innate. We know we don't like it. We're attacking it right away. It just does weird things to our body. Neurological and psychiatric manifestations of celiac disease and gluten sensitivity. Schizophrenia with gluten sensitivity and those gut intestinal permeability. Neuropathy with gluten sensitivity and gut intestinal permeability. Rheumatoid arthritis with that stuff. Headache, white matter abnormalities. Dermatitis, blistering skin issues. Allergies. Intestinal permeability associated with visceral adiposity, which is blubber, right? Associated with that stuff. And this is connecting obesity with intestinal permeability as well. Basically, what I'm trying to tell you is that we might want to steer clear of grains, okay? That's basically what I'm trying to say. Chronic fatigue syndrome as well. So, in conclusion, as far as carbs, they're not bad. Not all are bad, right? They are a great energy source and they taste wonderful. In excess, they can be problematic. And grains can be easy to overconsume. They're not natural, grains are. And there's no direct link yet, but multiple observational ties to disease linked to grains. All right? That's grains. Any questions since I've ruined most of our days and diets for the day? No? We're almost done, kind of. getting closer, promise. Okay, food quality. Why isn't macro counting good enough? So macro counting is awesome, but why isn't it good enough? Because the devil's in the details, right? You can count macros and eat pizza and donuts and table sugar all you want. You can do that. Does it sound like a good idea? Probably not. We want to look, it makes sense, guys. And the more you care about the food you eat, the more results you're going to get. And that's every meal. We're going to come back to that a little bit more. But less love in your food, less love in your diet, less success. We're going to talk about all that as far as food and diet hygiene. So this is when we get into that diet hygiene. Home prepared. Of the 21 meals in the week, assuming there's 3 in the day, how many do you guys prep at home? 18 is a good number and a good goal to go for it. And I'm saying not go home and eat a meal at home, but I'm saying it was made at home and you took it with you. That's a good goal. That's a good goal. Why? Because even if you're going from a healthy source, right, and you're getting your macros covered, even if you go pick your food up at whatever you think's healthy, Whole Foods, that little buffet line they have, or Tropical Smoothie Cafe, or Chipotle, or whatever healthy source of food that you want to pick up from, understand this, if you're buying it, right, if they're selling it for profit, there's only one way they're going to sell it, and that's if it tastes good. So although they're trying to make it healthy, their primary goal is to what? Make it taste good. And then they're like, it's kind of healthy too, so you want to buy that. That's their goal. They're not going to make it with the same amount of love that you're going to. And they're not going to make as many good decisions for your diet. If you make it at home yourself, you're probably going to be okay with putting health maybe a little bit more as a determining factor than the taste and the flavor. Not the same way the other way around. You are only going to buy and pay with your money stuff that tastes good and happens to be healthy, not the other way around. All right? So a lack of home prep foods is a sign of on the go and increased stress and poor digestion. So the more we're probably picking something up, you're probably eating it in your car, you're dumping stuff on your gut. And the gut's like, whoa, you're stressed out, you're talking on the phone, you're eating in the car, you're driving, you just almost hit a kid on the bike. We're really stressed out, what's going on? How am I supposed to absorb all this? And your gut can't. And so it's not going to absorb all that. So sitting down, eating quality food, it's good stuff. So nutrition is always the busy person's scapegoat. I'm too busy. I can't make breakfast because I got to get to work and I got to get the kids ready and I got to do this and I can't do it. I can't do it. Okay. Why not? Why not wake up earlier? Because I got to sleep. Okay. Oh, why not go to bed earlier? Because I got to watch TV, right? What point in time are you going to say your health and your nutrition is getting trumped by some BS excuse, right? And I get it. Life happens. I get it. What I'm trying to argue for you guys and make the point is that it's worth your time. It's worth your time. We don't even know how much richer your life could be with quality nutrition because you don't know how it's affecting you because you've gotten crappy as your status quo. Guys, you know this. Medicine is reactionary. Nutrition is preventative. It should be the utmost importance. This is kind of a no crap, a duh line, but when you think about it, it actually, you're like, oh, well, yeah, okay. The more you prioritize your nutrition, the more quality decisions will be made. The more you prioritize your nutrition, the more quality decisions will be made. You're like, yeah. Here's what I'm saying. If you take the time out of your night and you take the time out of your morning to make your food, to make the next day's food, and you've made quality food and you've actually taken time out of your day and energy out of your day to worry about this and make this and take it with you. What I'm saying is that person is less likely to stop at Slim Chickens on the way home or to grab a pizza or to do whatever, grab some ice cream, than the person who also ate very healthy foods, balanced out their macros, but did it on the go, and they just grabbed something from a restaurant real quick on the way in. They grabbed something at Whole Foods, and they had a protein bar that they ate with them. And they were on the go. They weren't taking time out of their day for that nutrition. They were still eating healthy foods. I'm not gonna argue that they were less healthy. But what I'm telling you, they're not prioritizing their nutrition as much. They're doing the least amount that they think they can get by with. And so when push comes to shove and those cravings come up or life gets really difficult, you're going to be more likely to say, yeah, Slim Chickens looks good. I'll have some Slim Chickens. Absolutely. I'll have the 5 and 5 and the waffle, please. Thank you. Yes. If you took all that time out of your day to make quality food, you're definitely not going to stop and eat crap food because you prioritize it more. I promise you. I've seen it happen with me. All right? Get used to taking more time out of your day, guys. Just get used to it. It's worth your time. You'll feel better about yourself. I promise you that. All right, so food quality. What does that mean? Meats and vegetables, nuts and seeds, some fruit, little starch, no sugar. That's what that means. That is a good mantra to live by. Makes sense from everything I've said, and they're natural foods, and striving for these goals will eliminate multiple health issues. Meats and vegetables, maybe it should be MVVV. Meats and vegetables and vegetables and vegetables. Nuts and seeds, some fruit, low starch, no sugar. And it's going to cover a lot of your supplement needs as well if you're spending a lot of money on supplements outside of like protein powder and stuff like that. Food quality, food prep, when? That's up to you, right? Sundays when a lot of people do it, but when? It's make time for it. Who? Honestly, I'm going to go ahead and say everybody that lives in your house, including your kids. Get them involved with it. Make the making of the meal, make it a family thing. Pour a glass of wine, make it fun, turn on some music, start teaching your kid, make them chop up the protein, teach them why they want to eat the protein. You and your spouse, you and significant other, whatever, you and your roommates. It's just something you guys start doing and you prioritize it. Make it part of your day to where it's not like, oh, I got to do it. You got to eat it. So have fun, educate yourself, and you'll learn to actually make healthier things taste better and better the longer you do it. I promise. Organics. Do we need to be eating organic food? This is a question we get a lot as far as vegetables and fruits and things like that with organics. So there's no studies that show that organics, veggies and fruits are healthier than non-organics. There's no studies out there that show that. So then we get into, well, what about pesticides and things like that go on to the non-organics? Is that giving me negative stuff? Solid concrete evidence, there's really not anything yet that's showing you're putting anything poisonous in your body if you're eating non-organics. So this is what I tell people. If you care about organics and you've got the means, because it's expensive as crap, then go for it, buy organics. If you don't have the means or you don't care, just eat your veggies and you're gonna be good to go. All right, so organics, that's a thing up for you, but don't be killing yourself, wasting your money on it if you don't want to. Now, where I'm on the other side of the fence, when we get into meats, pasture-raised, free-range, this is where there is a substantial difference in the quality of your food when it's pasture-raised and eats grass silage versus grain. So I'm gonna point it out to you. By the way, and we'll point this out as well, non-pasture raised meats typically have a higher fat content. Same amount of steak, you go to Doe's, you get your awesome steak. Grain-fed steak's going to be a little bit higher in fat, even though it's the exact same size. Okay, so this is looking at vitamin E. Concentrate grass silage. There's more vitamin E. And this is just basically 2 types of cows, so you're getting more of that. This is looking at your omega-3s. And omega-6s in grass silage versus concentrate. So this is your concentrate. These are omega-6s. These are those omega-3 fats. Grass silage over there. 119 grams versus 46 grams when you get the grass silage. It's more than double. Now we look at the omega-3s, which remember, these are the really good fats that we like. We love omega-3s. That's a win, got the DHA in it that we're gonna start buying from Norwegian Gold, critical DHA, right? Omega-3s, 4 versus 20. If we add that up, we're at 66 grams of fat versus 123 grams of fat. Same amount of meat. It makes a difference. It makes a difference. This is looking at Greek eggs. So Greek egg, I'd never heard this term. It refers to a chicken that lives the way a chicken's supposed to, out hunting and pecking and eating all that stuff. This is basically a study that shows that the Greek eggs have more omega-3 fats in them than without. So if you go to Walmart and you want to buy your eggs, you can buy eggs that actually have omega-3s supplemented into the chicken's diet so that they have more omega-3s. Or you can buy the free-range ones and get it already. Now, this is the tricky part as far as eggs go. These companies, they know that this is becoming a more popular thing when they're selling you their eggs, and they know they can charge more if they somehow make it sound like these are happy chickens that live wonderful lives out frolicking in the fields. So they've come up with a lot of different ways to sell you on this. So they'll say, these are cage-free chickens. That basically means there's 7 million chickens in this gym and there's no cages. It's not really a good thing. And then they'll say, these cage-free chickens have access to a little outside area that's very pleasant and nice. And basically what that means is they opened up that door and there's like a 4-foot area that those 50,000 chickens can get into. I can't tell you, there's a lot of crappy ways that these companies are trying to pull the wool over your eyes. So you just have to research and you got to look into it and you got to try to find the best thing that works for you, okay? Walmart has a decent one. I haven't done the research into the one that Walmart sells, but if you open up the top, it shows like surrounding the chicken house, all this stuff. That's what I buy. It could be complete crap and they could be just BSing the snot out of me. I'm hoping their diagram is decent as far as being real, but you're gonna pay more for those. So I do know at Whole Foods, they have pasture raised eggs and they're like $9 per dozen. So I'm not saying they're not healthy. Now we got to look at your means and your priorities, okay? But do know it does affect the quality of the food. Okay, this is basically a study, like I'm trying to be open and be honest with you. This is basically a study that just says some people like, hey, the difference in this fat is negligible. Don't worry about it. Okay, I'll even give you that, but a little bit goes a long way when it's consumed every single day. Okay, a little bit can go a long way. So I didn't background these next few pictures at all. I did not background check these things at all. I don't know how accurate they are, but with all the data, I didn't check the numbers, but I'm pretty sure that it's accurate, but the numbers might be total BS. So just know that it lives in the neighborhood of truth. How about that? More vitamin A, more vitamin E, more omega-3s in the pasture-raised versus the cage eggs. I was talking with Lisa and she said she was listening to a podcast and the guy was saying, hey, almost all cattle is pasture raised at some point in time and then it's not put in the grain lot for very long, so it's not affecting it that much. There is truth to what was said there. This is basically a graph that shows days being in the grain-fed in the feedlot. And you can see this is where the omega-3s start and this is where it ends. So what she's saying is true. Right? Most all cattle is free range at some time, but how long is it put in there? That's the question. And I don't know because they definitely don't tell you on the back of the meat. So I try to buy, this is one place where I do try to buy pasture raised, free range beef. Walmart actually has recently started like a little 2-foot section in the meat thing where you can buy some meat. Like they can buy some sirloins, you can buy some ground chuck and things like that. Been trying to buy that more often. You're gonna pay for it. If you go to Whole Foods, you're really gonna pay for it. But it might be worth your time. I would argue that yes, it's your health. This is, look there, we got the first graph, vitamin E. You see that big green bar is really big, the other one's not. And then total fat. This isn't looking at the quality of fat, this is just looking at total fat. So the first line, that's your beef, grain-fed. Really high fat content. Same amount of beef, grass-fed beef, much lower fat content. So if you're trying to count calories, if you're trying to lose a little bit of weight, it's a decent way to do it. So let's go back to that conjugated linoleic acid. You guys remember that? That's the naturally occurring trans fats in animals, the conjugated linoleic acid. This says milk from grass-fed cattle contains 5 times more of that conjugated linoleic acid than the grain-fed cattle. Now, some of you are like, I think that was a good thing. Don't worry, I've got you covered. Conjugated trans fats on bone physiology, it decreases adipose fat mass and increases bone mass. So conjugated linoleic acid, trans fats in animals, there's more, it's a good thing, does good things for us. There's more of it in free-range grass-fed. Food intolerances. It's important to understand there is a difference between allergies and intolerances, right? An allergy is an acute response that hits you right then, right there. You're gonna know it. An intolerance, different. Can be a slow drip, guys. It can be a very slow drip, but it's probably affecting you. It can vary from person to person. The food quality can help. If you might not have an intolerance or a less intolerance if we're buying quality food. if you're buying more of a quality food, but it might not. What am I talking about? I'm talking about more pure product, right? Instead of buying the 1% milk fat, you just buy the whole milk fat, or you're getting it from a better source. You're getting it from a smaller source that's not as profit-minded. You may be intolerant to foods with fantastic sources. And you may be, oh yeah, I'm jumping ahead of myself. All right, so resiliency. We all have different levels of resiliency. We're going to be affected different ways. So past diet, it could affect intolerances. What your parents fed you growing up could affect those intolerances. We just need to be aware of those things. So common offenders, right? Gas, joint pain, irritation, skin issues, itchy skin, mood changes, countless other symptoms may present with these in various degrees from food intolerances, okay? These negative symptoms are a sign that your body is not absorbing the stuff that you're putting into it. It can't deal with it. That's what these food tolerances are. It's basically your body rejecting it, saying, please stop putting this in me. I can't handle it, okay? And just remember, age, job, health, fitness, relationships all affect resiliency. Common offenders for food intolerances: dairy, grains, soy, oats, and eggs. So do you have a food intolerance? So a little quick story. I was doing a CAD with a female, and she said, I don't want to get rid of any of these foods that you're talking about I might need to get rid of, because we had a girl in the office get rid of these foods, and she took them out for about a month, and then she brought them back in, and she felt like crap when she ate them. And I really like those foods, and I don't want to feel like crap when I eat them. I'm like, okay, well, what's going on there, right, is she always felt like crap eating those foods. It was just her status quo. She just always felt like crap, and she didn't know it. And once she finally got rid of them, and she put them back in her diet after they were gone for a while, it got put right to the front of her awareness. Holy crap, I don't feel as good as I used to. So that could be you guys. Your status quo could be crap, all right? Dairy, grains, soy, oats, and eggs. Those are your common offenders. The best way to find out if you have an intolerance is take one of those and remove it from your diet for 7 to 10 days completely. Then on the end of that period, bring it back into your diet. Don't go chug a 2-gallon thing of milk. But at the same time, don't be like, yeah, I'm good. I don't even have a slight issue. You just need to have a normal amount of whatever it is you took out. And then be hyper aware of the results. How do you feel? And look for it. It's not just, I got a rash. Oh, no rashes, I'm good. It's deeper than that, guys. Let's be aware. Did you sleep well? Did you not sleep well? Were you mean? Were you a horrible husband? Were you an awesome parent? Were you better at your job? Were you sleepy? Who knows? A lot of different ways. And unfortunately, you can be intolerant of quality foods. So what is the one thing I'm telling you to eat more of?
Veggies.
Veggies. So once I started learning all this stuff and educating myself, I put the veggies on fast forward big time, right? I'm eating and still am eating a lot of them. And again, remember, this is from the guy that main source of vegetables was Shogun's. So wasn't getting a lot, and then all of a sudden I was getting a butt ton of veggies every single day. Yeah, I was a little intolerant to veggies, so you can be intolerant to foods that have not been in your life and are quality food items. So that intolerance for me was a little bit extra time in the bathroom and a constant daily who can fart more contest between me, Beefy, and Brisket. So it's gotten better, but you may want to ease into the veggies a little slowly if that's you. If you were a Shogun veggie guy like I was, because it can work you over. I would argue that even if, yes, it makes you gassy or whatever, it's worth introducing those things into your system because of all the good things that veggies do. All right? All the good things that veggies do. Best way to do this, right, to find out, is a food journal. If you're going to keep with the 540 program and we're going to assign you to a coach and you're going to start tracking your things, that's basically the next step in the next process of this after this education. The food journal is a great way for you to find out. If you're trying to go with just a food recalls are notoriously inaccurate because you forget stuff. And so if you're trying to remember, Monday I brought dairy back in. Did I feel bad? But if you're writing it down right then, something that you're going to forget, you got to track this stuff. You got to take metrics. Which foods do people have the least reaction to? Any guesses? Meats and veggies, nuts and seeds, little fruit, little starch, no sugar. That's what you're going to have the least amount of reactions to. Quality food. So performance. What is performance? That's up to you, right? That's individualized to you. Your nutrition should support your function. And we've talked a lot about that as far as the food you eat needs to support your function, not a one size fits all outside of meat and veggies. And you support the recovery, looking into that post-workout window that we've already talked about. So how do you know, are you eating enough or too much? You've got to take metrics. We've got to write it down. I'm going to tell you the best way, in my opinion, is to download MyFitnessPal and start tracking it. Guys, I am not a detailed person. I am not Mr. Structure. I don't like it. I like to just roll with it, right? You got to do it though, because if I'm not doing it and I'm trying to improve my performance, or you're trying to improve your health, and you're not tracking what you're eating, and you're just kind of going with it, then you're not tracking what you're eating. You could be really high and you don't realize it. I've seen it with myself, and I'm pretty cognizant of what I'm eating. And until I track it, I'm like, holy cow, look at that. I didn't even know. One thing I was doing, I was talking with the marshals the other day, is I thought I knew, from eyeballing how much protein I was eating. Oh, that's 4 ounces. That's 5 ounces. Yeah, absolutely. I'm getting enough protein. And then we bought a scale and I put it on there. Haven't had a scale in years, put it on. My 5 ounces was actually 2 ounces that I was eating. So I was really screwing myself over. And I wonder why I'm one of the weaker guys at the gym. It's my protein. It's my protein. Yeah, you got to be aware of the difference in nutrition for performance and fat loss, because they are not always walking hand in hand. Supplements. Real food is primary. There is no reason to be supplementing your diet with anything if we do not have a good quality food profile already put together. Okay? You're working on details. You're working on putting a really expensive muffler on your car when you've got a crap engine, right? You're working on a spoiler when you've got a crap car. It's a waste of your time. We need to have a good food profile first. This is what I find most people use supplements for, a lot of people, outside of like protein powder and things like that, post-workout. Supplements are used as a shortcut. I don't want to eat veggies, so I've got this pill and it's all the veggies I need. Perfect. I'm good. Come on. No, you're not good. It sounds too good to be true. It doesn't work that way, guys. And no matter what powder you're taking, I'm not saying it's a bad pill, but it does not cover putting it on your plate, okay? It doesn't cover that. Normally, it's going to be responsible for a very small increase in your performance or function, very small percentage anyways. And most supplements, guys, do not have to back up what they claim they can do. Very few supplements have to back that up. They'll give you observational epidemiology, or they'll give you a really, 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 really shitty done study saying, oh, this is what it does. So Amy and I have had multiple conversations about this. The big raging supplement in the gym right now, as far as I know, for the ladies, for the most part, is collagen peptides, right? Which is basically protein powder made from like cartilage and of animals and bones and stuff like that. And it's supposed to increase the smoothness of our skin and joints and makes me prettier and better and all those stuff, right? Does it do those things? I don't know, maybe. I tried to research just to find out, could not find one study that was concrete that it does. One study. And the few studies that were done were so poorly done that you had no idea if it was just the fact that these people are eating protein, because that's what collagen peptides are. It's a protein powder. So if you want to take it, I would say great, but mainly because it's a protein. But if you're telling me I want to take it for all these other things, I'd say let's cover veggies and quality food sources and food intolerances and when we're eating and food quality and food hygiene. Let's cover all those sources, then let's bring in the collagen peptides. But it could very well be the positive studies that have been done on that is just because these people don't eat protein and now they are eating protein. This is where the studies have to be very detailed to be able to find a causation on what things say that they do. I'm not bashing collagen peptides. You guys take them all you want. Just telling you, might not be a cure-all. Okay, macros. This is you working with your coach. So why do we want to count our macros in the same way you would want to count your calories? It gives you a little bit more direction than just eating willy-nilly. Well, counting your calories, right? You could eat 2,000 calories of pure sugar, but if we're counting our macros, we're getting more direction. We're able to smart bomb that thing a little bit more. All right, and this is where you're going to communicate with your coach moving forward if you decide to sign up. Okay, so if you decide to sign up, this is like what our coaches are going to be communicating with you and coming back. We're going to give you something like this, but probably with more direction. So this is looking at our body weight, right? This is a guy and a girl. So we've got body weight, the BW of 185. Then we're looking at, so I'm saying I'm weigh 185 pounds. So then I'm saying my low basal metabolic rate is 1682. That base metabolic rate is referring to how many calories I burn existing, just being Trevor, sitting on the couch and watching whatever it is I'm watching, not doing a darn thing. That's a low base metabolic rate. The high BMRs, maybe I'm Emmanuel and I burn hot, and Emmanuel can eat whatever he wants to eat all day long, and his body would take it as a personal challenge to burn it off before he like sets his fork down. That would be Emmanuel. He has a very high base metabolic rate compared to me. Then we have exercise energy expenditure. Right now I got that at 800 calories. This is how much you burned in here at 12 o'clock before you stood around for this presentation. 800's jacked. That's very high. That means you did an aggressive strength work, and then we did some aggressive Metcon work after that. So we're probably not going to have it that high. Then we have the TEF, which refers to thermic effect of the food. Again, protein, winner, thermic effect is high on protein. It's basically how many calories does it take for you to burn the food that you already ate, okay? All that factors into our low calorie goal, or whatever our calorie goal is, and then we're breaking it into the protein, carbs, and fats. And this is where the coaches are going to work with you, find out what your function is, what your goals, what your desires are, and we're going to start manipulating the percentages of our calories that we want to consume. We know we want to be in this area. Now, how do we want to break it up? Are you performance-based, Brett? Let's get some sugar in there and let's eat some carbs, okay? You want to lose some weight? Maybe let's lower those carbs and up our protein, okay? Whatever it may be, we're going to manipulate that. And that also is where the coach is going to say, how's your function throughout the day? Are you busy as crap, right? Brad Payne's busy as crap. He can't get away. Intermittent fasting is a good look for Brad Payne for his function because he can't sit down and go eat some quality meals throughout the day because he's jacked. Is intermittent fasting good for me when I've got all these little breaks throughout the day? It's stupid. It makes no sense for me to do intermittent fasting, right? When I can eat my function all day long. So finding that is going to be working with your coach, finding what works for you, experimenting, and communicating back with us. I won't even go over the female part. You guys can see that. It's the same gist. This is the back of a nutritional thing. I chose Doritos. Yeah, absolutely. So for those of you that never looked at this, right at the top, you've got calories, 150 calories. There's your total fat, carbohydrates, and then there's protein. I'm not commenting on Doritos being poor or bad. That was the first picture I was able to find in Google. Now, let's look at, this is peanut butter. So let's look at the fat. 17 grams per 2 tablespoons of peanut butter. 17 grams. The low goal for the fat macro for guys was 64, for girls it was 36. That was the low goal for the fat macro for the day. 36 for the ladies, you're getting 17 grams in 2 tablespoons of peanut butter. Half your fat amount, right then and there. I'm not demonizing peanut butter by any stretch. What I'm telling you is we have to be aware of how much we need and then where are we getting it from. I could not put this up there. So did anybody try this thing? I hate coffee, but did anybody try the unicorn frappuccino? I saw it all over the news for a while. So I brought it because the numbers were absolutely ridiculous. I showed this picture. You guys can't read it back there. But total carbohydrates, 79 grams of carbohydrates in this coffee drink. 79 grams of carbs. 76 of that is added sugar. So there's only 3 grams of yeah. The low carb macro, guys, was 193. This was saying by the way, your carbs are at 40%. Okay, for this. The low for the ladies was 139. 79 grams of carbs. Your goal for the day was 139. So if you had this morning and you're trying to stay on the low goal,
you're done.
You're pretty much done. All right? Be aware of what you're consuming. Look it up. it's depressing. I have never, for the first time ever, I looked up Slim Chicken's nutritional value. It's depressing. It was very sad. I believe I had the 5 and 5 plate because it's delicious. And I did the numbers and I had about 100 grams of protein. I had 100 grams of fat. And I had 100 grams of carbohydrates. So I was over my fat number that meal, and I had it for lunch. I'd already, so that day I ended up being over like 40 or 50 grams on my fat macro just because of that one stinking meal. It can be depressing if you have your favorite foods, looking that up, but you guys need to know ignorance is bliss, but it doesn't get you anywhere, right? It doesn't get you anywhere. Look it up, find out what your coffee is, and figure it out. So when I've been doing these nutritional profiles for the few people I've been doing them, spaghetti was a pretty common dinner in the evening. So this is 2 ounces of spaghetti, and there's 8 serving sizes in this little bag. We know what a spaghetti bag looks like. 2 ounces. You get 41 grams of carbohydrates. I don't think I've ever seen anybody eat 2 ounces of spaghetti when they have spaghetti and red sauce. Okay? I've ever seen that happen ever. You're most likely eating at least 2 serving sizes. So we're at 82 grams. The low goal was 193, 139. What is something that you have anytime you have spaghetti? What does everybody have with spaghetti and red sauce? Anybody? Bread. Garlic bread, cheesy bread, more bread. Wine, whatever. So very easily, guys, you got your sauce, you got whatever else you're cooking it in, you're eating with. Did you have dessert? Did you have juice because it was healthy? You could be easily over 200 grams of carbohydrates in that meal. What does the excess carbs do? It's for performance. It's for performance, or if it's not for performance, what is it to do? It's to keep you fat so you don't die in the winter. That's what carbs do. To get you fat so you don't die in a world that doesn't have Walmart. I just put this up there real quick because it is laughable. I used to work for Kellogg's, and it was, I was like, this is almost like unlawfully wrong how they say protein on things. This is actually a borderline bad but decent source of protein. But you'll see this, protein, and now you're like, oh, I need protein. I'll grab the protein. I like this, protein. So there's 10 grams of protein. Okay, it's all right. It's not great. But there's 12 grams of fat. There's more fat than there is protein in this. So it is going to be very satiating. It's going to fill you up more than something else. And then you've got your 14 grams of carbs. The reason I put this out there is because if food has even a burp of protein in it, they will advertise it to get you to buy it. The Special K bars, they were like 3 or 4 grams of protein. And they're like, now with protein. I'm like, 4 grams? My farts have more protein than that. So that's a joke. So be aware. Look it up. And I threw eggs because we all eat eggs. So the eggs, they have around 5 grams of fat per, 6 grams of protein. 5 grams of fat per egg, 6 grams of protein per egg. You've got to be crazy, or you got to be aware of a 1-to-1 fat to protein ratio, because that macro is going to be so much lower than your protein, right? So you've just got to be aware that if you're eating your eggs for your protein, you're maxing out your fat very quickly, okay? You're maxing that out very quickly. Just got to be aware of those combo items like milk and cheese. Okay, actually we're at last 2 slides. We're there. Not a 60-day challenge, guys. Shock diets, right, are for quick results, and they normally don't get you where you want them to. And I know the reason you'd sign up for it is you say, hi, I'll do the 60-day challenge to get loss. So I'll get my body where I want to, then I'll do these quality principles. That will work if you do it. But you're doing a shock diet, which is hard for you to maintain, and most likely by the end of those 60 days, you are counting the hours for when you can go back to real food. And then you're like, okay, well, I've been being awesome. I lost all this weight. I look great, sweet. I'm just going to do a week of a cheat meal and then I'll get it. I'm telling you guys, just do the right thing from the get-go. Don't try to cheat the system, all right? We're looking for this for the long term, guys, the long term. I am not trying to get you skinny for the summer. I'm trying to get you healthy for the rest of your life. And that includes being skinny for the summer, but for the rest of your life. Health and nutrition is more than looks, and know the difference between health and performance, because those two things do not necessarily go hand in hand. Performance can be detrimental to your health. It sometimes can be. Big changes equals big crashes. And remember, I'm not a huge fan of template diets. Why? Because they are for the one person that created them. Now, they may have excellent principles, right? The paleo diet has excellent principles that may work fantastic for one person, but it might not work that fantastic for you and your function. Okay? And that's why we want to work with you one-on-one as far as that goes. If you continue at 540 with your nutritional growth, we want a mindset for lifetime change, not all at once, but for all your life at an increased standard of living. All right? That's all I've got for you. You guys are more than welcome to ask questions. I know it was long. It was a ton of info. I just didn't want to cut anything because it was all such good info. If you guys enjoyed it, the currency of the day is social media. So if you want to get on and give us some props, that would be awesome. If you enjoyed it, if you didn't, then just keep it quiet, right? Good there. But thank you guys for your time. I really appreciate it. Hopefully you enjoyed it.